Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Bryner. I'm a flight attendant for a major US airline. I know this video is long overdue, but the reason I put it off for so long, honestly, is just because, okay, let's start at the beginning. A lot of y'all probably don't know this, but I went to Europe for 2 weeks in September, came back, did my face-to-face interview for my airline, and then after that I went backpacking in Southeast Asia for a month and a half. Came back, went straight to training, and then after training I was commuting. I was New York based for about 3 months, and then now I am a Charlotte based flight attendant. I used to be a server, bartender, manager at a restaurant in Colorado during college, and then for a year after college. Point of all this is that my life, my routine was so stable. Like, I lived in an apartment by myself. I was able to go to the gym, cook my food. I knew my work schedule over a week in advance and I could plan around that. And so since basically the end of August, like beginning of September, I've just been traveling all the time. So my routine just hasn't really been stable, and I'm hoping to bring more stability back into my life now that I am Charlotte based and can live at my apartment in Charlotte. How this relates to me not filming the video is really just that I feel like my life has just been so chaotic. I wasn't really in a good headspace a lot of the time to film. I haven't really been eating well, working out, doing the things that I need to do to feel just like good about myself. But over the past month I have gotten a lot of that taken care of. I am feeling a lot better about myself and like where I'm at in my life with my habits and such. I know you guys didn't come here for me to have like a little mini therapy session with you, but I mean, that's just the truth. That's also the reality of this job, like becoming a flight attendant. It's gonna be a lifestyle adjustment, and I was already used to working crazy hours, and it's still been an adjustment for me. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the Q&A. I literally thought that maybe 3 people were gonna ask me questions, and I ended up getting like 20 questions. So I chose 10 that I thought were the best to answer. The first question is, why did you decide to become a flight attendant? What did you major in college? It was not my plan to become a flight attendant. I just was looking up jobs, like literally Googled jobs where you can travel, because I've always had a passion for traveling. I've always really enjoyed it. I don't like just being in the same place all the time. I like experiencing new cultures, seeing new things, and I've always been a really big fan of YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube, and a lot of the YouTubers that I watch are travel YouTubers. One of the travel YouTubers I really got into during COVID were The Other Side vlog, Ian and Anna. My goal was kind of like, I really wanted to have some sort of remote job where I could just be nomadic and travel the world. When I was doing all my research, I saw flight attendant come up, and I've always enjoyed flying. I don't mind the airport. I've never been scared of flying. So I was like, why not? So I looked up like how to apply, and I saw that each airline only opens their application maybe like 2 to 3 times a year. So I went on their website, I turned notifications on so that I would know when their applications were open. I applied to 2 airlines in January of 2022. I immediately got rejected. Like, when I say immediately, they emailed me back within a week and I did not get the position, which was fine. I had read on a lot of blogs that maybe I wouldn't get it the first go around, or even the second or third go around. Oh, also I was only applying to mainline airlines because I knew that I wanted to have the opportunity to do international travel. So then another airline opened their application in March, and I got denied from that as well. So then May came around, and my current airline that I had my sights set on, this was like my dream airline from the beginning. I grew up flying this airline, and I had also started watching a lot of flight attendant YouTubers who worked for this airline, like Jen and Julia, Kat Nesbitt. So even though I got rejected the first time from this airline, I decided to apply again, and then I just kind of forgot that I applied. I went on with my life, and then in August, I randomly got an email from them inviting me to do a virtual group interview. I literally remember the day. I was at my boyfriend's house and he was at home, and I screamed, and his brother was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, like they invited me for an interview. I was so nervous for the whole 2 weeks before that interview. And I was also in the process of interviewing with another airline at that time. So I don't know why in August all of a sudden everyone started reaching out to me, but it all worked out in the end. It would have actually sucked if I had to have gone to training and canceled my entire trip to Bali. So timing wise, everything kind of worked out. I kind of strayed from the why did you decide to become a flight attendant question, but that's my life story. But in college, I majored in public relations. I went to the University of Colorado Boulder, and there is a strategic communications degree, so that's what I pursued. So I took advertising, public relations, and media design classes all throughout college. So my technical degree is strategic communications, but my focus is in PR, public relations. The next question is, how did you decide on an airline? I kind of just answered this question. The airline that I currently work for was my dream airline from the beginning, and that's because I watch YouTubers who work for this airline, and also because I grew up flying this airline because I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, and my airline used to have a hub in Raleigh, so when I was younger, this is the airline that we flew everywhere. Also, my airline is unionized, and I don't know, I think having a union is kind of nice. I like it. There are a couple airlines who are not unionized, so before you apply, if that is something that's important to you, you should consider that while making a decision about an airline. Oh, y'all. I was literally gonna say, was nobody gonna tell me? But like, how could you tell me? You're on the other side of the camera. Do y'all see this is the rash that I get when I'm like stressed. I call it my stress rash. It's not that I'm like stressed, I just have social anxiety. And I know like you're not actually here in front of me, but to me, this is like a social setting. I've also had a lot of caffeine today. I literally had a coffee and a Celsius. I will continue to mention Celsius in my videos until they sponsor me. I'm a day one fan, a day one Celsius drinker. I learned about them from Erica Costal, if y'all know about her. She's awesome. Okay, next question. What was the hiring process like from the interviews to training? So I just talked about that a little bit as well. But basically you apply online when their application opens. For most airlines, you'll do a sort of assessment, whether that's like a personality assessment or a scenario-based assessment where they kind of give you things that might happen during the job. And then you have to answer based off how you would respond, if that makes sense. And then from there, they will usually invite you for a virtual interview. I've heard some airlines will do a phone call, but in my case, it was a virtual interview, like a Zoom type interview. Oh, actually, you know what? The airline that I work for now was a group interview, but the other airline that I was interviewing with, they just did a one-on-one virtual interview. So he maybe asked me like 5 or 6 questions. One of the questions was like an icebreaker question. It was still pretty short, one-on-one interview. And then after that, you kind of wait a week or two to hear back from them, and then they invite you to a face-to-face interview. And for my hiring process, I was offered a face-to-face interview. I had to call and switch my face-to-face interview because I was in Europe during the date that they originally scheduled me for. And so I went in between me being in Europe and going to Southeast Asia. I got so lucky that they could reschedule me because it can be a little difficult to reschedule with companies who are corporate and just are hiring a lot of people at one time. It's just hard for them to accommodate everybody's schedule. The face-to-face interview is like usually kind of a half-day event. You meet a bunch of other flight attendants who work for the airline or recruiters for the airline. The CGO just means conditional job offer, and it's basically just an offer for you to go to training. So at the face-to-face interview, you'll be with, I mean, mine was only like maybe 30 interviewees, and then they'll offer you your CJO. From there, you wait like another week to a month, sometimes even, to figure out when your training dates are. And that was just my experience personally. I'm not saying that it's like this for every single airline. My face-to-face interview was at the end of September of 2022. And then my training dates were offered to me on October 4th, and I went to training on November 9th. So it is a very long process from start to finish. I applied in May, and then I went to training in November and didn't graduate until December. So that's 6 months of a process from when I initially applied to when I graduated training and started actually flying. Oh, and they do, I know that a majority of airlines do pay for your flights to fly you in for your face-to-face interview. Do you have any tips for training? A lot of y'all have Instagram DM me this, and a lot of people always ask me, is training hard? I think that that is so subjective because what may be hard for me might not be hard for you and vice versa. While I did not think that the material was difficult, that also could be because I was like always a very good student, and so I developed good study skills. So I studied really hard for the tests, like don't get me wrong, it was challenging to get through training because if you really care about the job, it's hard because you're stressed out, you don't get a lot of sleep, there's a lot going on, there's just like a lot to learn in the short period of time. And it's not just your tests that you're taking online, but it's also drills, which are like tests, you know, opening and closing doors, arming and disarming doors, evacuation drills, which are very important, and things like that. There's just so much to learn. You know, we fly in multiple different aircrafts at my company, so it is a lot of information. You don't get a lot of sleep. The schedule changes every single day with what hours you're going to be at the training center. You could be there for 12 hours, you could be there for 4 hours. It really just depends. So I thought that that was what made it hard, was like the unpredictability, the amount of information that you're given, even though like the tests themselves, if you studied, weren't hard. Y'all, I literally would just get like sidetracked, like I didn't even answer the question. My tips are study so that you pass the test. Don't overthink it. Pay attention during the review sessions. During my training, we had a review session before every test. And your instructors usually will focus on the more important points that you had learned before that test. Just make sure that you make friends, because it can be really lonely unless you really don't like people, in which this might not be the job for you. Stay out of drama. At the beginning, I was like, there's just no way that there's gonna be drama at this 6-week training full of adult humans. But guess what? There was drama. Just because of the lack of sleep, emotions are running high, everybody's just running on caffeine, and people like to talk about each other. So just be kind, don't put anyone down, listen to what your instructors have to say, follow the rules, just do simple things like dress the way that they tell you to dress, follow the dress code, make sure your hair is always pulled back. It's just those little things, and you will succeed, I promise. I did talk about more training advice in my training video, so if you haven't watched that, go watch it, and I will link it down below. How did you decide on your base? So during training, you rank bases on the first day, and we were offered 6 bases. So I was like, okay, I know that I'm probably gonna move to Charlotte regardless. I'm ready to move back somewhere warm after being in Colorado for 5 years. I was like, I'm done with the snow. I don't want to be in the snow anymore. I need to move to the warmth. So that's actually why I put Dallas and Miami down as my top 2. It was just because it's warm there. I thought that they would both be an easy commute from Charlotte. I heard that there's a lot of crash pads in Dallas and Miami. But then I did have a tough decision on what I was gonna put third. I really wanted to put Chicago because my boyfriend grew up in Chicago. So I thought maybe if I got Chicago that we would move there instead of Charlotte, at least temporarily. But I ended up putting New York because it's on the East Coast. I had heard really, really good things about the base, even though all the bases are great in their own ways. I just heard that New York had a lot of international flying. My brother actually lives in New York. He plays college baseball up there. So I knew that my family was gonna be up there some. I knew that I could go stay with him sometimes if I needed to. I've always really liked the city. I have friends that live in the city. Granted, I ended up being way too broke to go into the city and go out with them, but I did go into the city like at least 3 or 4 times while I was up there. So yeah, that's why I put New York. It was kind of on a whim. I thought it would be an easy commute from Charlotte. My brother was up there. I knew my family would be up there some. And I was like, I know they have a lot of international flying. Hopefully I get some international trips while I'm up there. And I did. I went on that amazing Doha trip. I would not take back choosing New York ever. I loved it up there. I literally have been saying that I want to go back eventually when I have a line and it'll be easier to commute up there, or when I have enough money to actually live in the city and live like a good quality of life in the city. All right, the next question is, how much do I fly? I am actually doing a whole nother video on this because I got this question a lot. And if you don't already follow me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram because I post on my Instagram stories a lot, kind of updating like where I am, what trips I'm on. So that kind of hints more into like how much I fly, where I go. But I've been averaging like about 75 hours actually, which is exactly what my guarantee is, which I'm going to explain in that video as well. Is straight reserve hard? Yeah. It honestly, okay, it's not as hard if you don't commute. I've been in Charlotte for 4 days and it is like made the world of difference. Reserve is so much easier. Now that I did 3 really hard months of commuting to New York. When you're junior, you just get, you know, the days off that nobody else wants off. You're usually the first one to get called from the list. And being on reserve is just so unpredictable. Like, you really can't plan. I mean, maybe like a day before is like when you can make plans for the next day, because you find out your assignment at around 4 p.m., 4:30 p.m. at my airline for the next day when you're on reserve. And I will explain the reserve system more in the same video regarding how much I fly. But long answer, cut short, yes, straight reserve is hard. What's your favorite part about being a flight attendant? My favorite part is really just going to places that I honestly would probably not travel to if I weren't a flight attendant. Like, I don't think I would have gone to Doha. That wasn't on my travel list, so it was very cool that I was able to go there and experience it. And then I also went to Bermuda, and I went to Honduras, which I don't think I would have gone to either of those places either if it weren't for this job. So I think that my most favorite part is really just getting to go to some of these places that I don't think that I would like think to travel to otherwise. Customer service comes naturally to me. I'm good at customer service and I love talking to people and meeting people and learning about their lives. So that's also my favorite part, because I enjoy, you know, learning people's life stories while I'm on the plane. Other flight attendants included, I will talk your ear off in the jump seat. So if you ever fly with me, be prepared for that. What's your least favorite part about being a flight attendant? My least favorite part? Rude people. I mean, I'm sure y'all have heard the stories, you've seen the news articles. It's not like I've experienced anything that's been that crazy yet, but some of my classmates have already had, you know, people get arrested on their flights and incidents that are just not chill. So that's probably the hardest part of the job, is really just having to deal with some people who are just not the nicest. But all of the good parts of the job really make up for it, and you don't let those people like ruin your day. It's definitely a hard part of the job, but you can brush it off and move on. Also, the pay. But my airline is in contract negotiations right now, so once we get a new contract, hopefully the pay won't be as bad. I know this video is probably literally 30 minutes long because I don't know how to shut up. Like, I just will ramble on and on and on and on. So the last question, what location is next to visit on your bucket list? I have a whole list on my phone. These are specifically things that I want to do with Alex. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's kind of long. One place that we really want to go is Australia. Go surfing there, see the coral reefs, and also Thailand. And that's because I had a whole month planned in Thailand after Bali, but I had to cancel that part of my trip because I came back and went to flight attendant training. So Thailand is like at the very top of my list, and I already have a whole trip basically planned out, like where we would stay, where we would go and everything. So I'm kind of just waiting for Alex to get a remote job and for me to get on a line so that I can make that happen for us to go to Thailand for like hopefully 2 weeks. And also I really want to go to St. Patrick's Day in Chicago. Like, I want to see the Green River. Y'all know what I'm talking about? They have like, they make the river green for St. Patrick's Day, and it just seems like really fun there, so I want to go. Oh, and I really want to go to New Orleans, but I think I'm going next week for my friend's birthday, so stay tuned on that because I will be vlogging if I go to New Orleans with my flight attendant friends. All right, you guys, I am gonna go ahead and wrap up this video here. I literally just hit 700 subscribers today, and I just want y'all to know that I really appreciate you for subscribing, so thank you. And if you are watching this and you aren't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I know you guys don't believe me anymore when I say I'm gonna post every week, but I actually do have like 4 videos that are already filmed. I just need to edit them and get them up. I'm getting my life back on track this month. I'm just gonna keep manifesting that, and then hopefully my life will get back on track. No, but actually I do have a plan. I have a whole plan. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.